across the world and beyond. TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas,
So many Black lives incarcerated. So many Black lives silenced. When will we stop the madness?
Hi, thank you for joining us at the After. My name is Jackie Cooper, executive producer Felix Washington. And hey, Shantae, shout out to our Facebook girl. Thank you for being at home and sharing everything. We're going to switch up some things this week, a little different. Today, I have my girl with me, Stony Love.
That's right.
Stony Love, turn up for me. And also, our retired officer, Dexter Dumas. And today we're just going to switch up some things, and we're going to talk about a little, Stony and I, a little bit more in depth and personal about our situation and things that we endured while incarcerated. If you don't know, that's where we've been. So I'm going to, turn it over to Stony and kind of see, let her give you a little bit about herself and what she has gone through in reference to being a mom and a hustling mom, an educated mom, a strong Black woman, yeah, and also eventually being an incarcerated mom. So we're gonna, turn it over to Stony and see what her thoughts are.
Well, hello everybody in the 106.1 land. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, I'm thankful to be on your show today.
All right.
I'm usually not the one being interviewed. You were, so it feels a little different. But I want to say thank you again. But you and I, after having a little conversation, we have pretty much the same journey, yes, the same story.
Absolutely.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm Stony Love from the Stony Love Atlanta Morning Show, and I've created my own talk show. And on that panel, what I do is I talk about this too, about the journey. And the journey has been long. It has been long. And I want to say that when they were locking up all of the men, they realized that wasn't who they were supposed to be locking up. Because the men don't run the household.
Right.
The men do not set the tone for home.
Right.
They just come in, they pay the bills, they go to bed, and they're like, you take care of it.
Right.
They may do a little discipline here and there, but the mother, we are the core of the home.
Absolutely.
And so when the government figured that out and they started yanking the mothers out of the home for little small crimes and giving the women long periods of time for them, now it affects the home. It affects the children because now the children don't have a mother.
Right.
And some of those children's fathers were already gone because they were deadbeats or in jail or they had taken another path in life. So now these children were left without a mother and a father.
Yes.
So my children, I must say, I have 4 children and thank God for them, were left without me. But they had my mother and they had some family members, but and I'm not going to say that my family wasn't doing what they should have done, because no one should, or they don't have to take the slack for you being gone or making a poor choice.
Yes.
But when they're small children, you would think that the right thing to do
Yeah.
is to say, hey, that's my sister's kids, that's my brother's kids. Let me get the children and take care of them. So my mother, already being elderly and illiterate, had the responsibility of 2 girls and my son. And so she couldn't give all of them the nurturing and nutrients that they need,
Right.
meaning clothing and food.
Right.
So it was a little bit difficult for her.
Right.
So my son ended up pretty much, on the street, and his father, and the children had the same father, but he really wasn't there. So he agreed to take the boy, and then when the boy got 18, he still kicked him out.
Wow.
So it was like, the children suffered, and now they're 30, 29, 28, 27, and 23, but they're still affected by me being gone for 7.5 years. Now, remind you, I did Fed time for counterfeit. So we're talking $80 million. Government come in, they capture me, take all my houses, my cars. The little money that I did have left that I did leave behind, of course, was used during that time between my mother and my brother. Then when that ran out, there was nothing.
There was nothing. Yeah.
So, the kids, it's hard for them to forgive you.
Oh.
Because they're angry. You left me at a time when I needed you.
The most.
So I remember this particular day, and I want to share this story. I've never really shared this before, and I want to talk about full circle. I left my kids on a Thursday. It was a rainy day. I dropped them off at school, and I said, hey, I'll be back. They went to Hillgrove High School, and it was a rainy day. Mm-hmm. And so I decided I wanted to go rob one more bank. I said, I'm going to go, and I'm going to hit this bank, but I'm going to go in Alabama. That's where I'm going to drive to. And I'll be back before school is out. Well, I got locked up at the last bank.
Wow.
In Alabama. They surrounded my vehicle, excuse me, and I called my daughter. And I said, hey, kiddo, I said, I can't, believe it or not, she has the same phone number today. I said, I told you I would be back, but they got me. And I said, I hid all the money where I always do, because I had a bunch of money on me, and I hid it in the compartment in the car. And the feds were just tearing up my car. They were looking for it. They was like, where's the money? And I was like, oh, I don't have any money. Right. But I had took the console out and stuck at least 10 grand down in the in there. And I told my kid, I says, they're going to give you a release for the car, but come get the car. And I left something for you. She knew what that meant.
Right.
And so, and I says, y'all take that. And that was, they lived off of that for a while. And so I went to prison. I never came home. And so I always thought I was going to get a bond and get out. But the judge was always like, you're a flight risk because you know how to make Social Security cards, identity theft, all of that. And so they never let me go home. And 7.5 years later, I came home, and then I got a job at the bus station. But I needed a part-time job because I was used to living a certain lifestyle. So I said $5,000 a month would be suffice for me. And so I took a paper route. And one night on this paper route, it was my first night, and I was driving. And I says, I've been here before. I told the guy that was training me. And I said, what's the name of this school? And he said, it's Hillgrove High School. And I said, oh my God. And I had a breakdown because I had told my children that I was coming back that day to get them. And I never did. And I'm like, it's funny how God will bring you back.
Full circle.
He will bring you back full circle. And I couldn't deliver another paper. I sat there in that parking lot, and all I could do was just pray and ask God to forgive me. I called my children that morning, early that morning. I asked them to forgive me for hurting them, for being selfish, and only thinking about my material need and living in my shadow side. And when I say that, my baby girl, she had forgiven me already. she had already been done that. But my other children was like, yeah, you know. And it took 6 years later to now my son, just recently, we're at peace now. And my other daughter, who's, I feel so bad for her because she never adjusted well. She ended up being on drugs. She ended up getting raped while I was in prison. So there was nobody there to save them because all they ever had was me and I was gone. So prison, not only when we're doing time, the kids are doing time as well.
Your family, their family.
Poor choices.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very hard thing to see. My son, he never really got himself together. He just got a job with the Cobb County schools, but he had been so depressed, suicidal, because he never got himself on the right track. He always still lived in that moment of me leaving, always lived in that moment of me abandoning him. And so one day I got into it with his girlfriend. I was like, you ain't nothing but a piece of crap. Anyway, I don't even know why he deals with you. And you know what she said? He says, you're a piece of crap too.
Yeah. That's what they do.
And my mouth was wide open.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that he felt that way about me. And he was like, Ma. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get in my car and I'm going home.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what else. I couldn't say anything else to him because he had already been broken. He had already felt like I had betrayed him in some way. So now as I live this part of my life, I live this part of my life in a higher elevation with the universe, not in my shadow side. If I don't work for it, we don't get it.
Exactly.
Now I'm living my purpose. I know that I'm supposed to be in media. I know that I'm supposed to be a voice for what goes on in the universe, whether it's good or bad. I know now my calling and I act upon it. And I know at some point the universe is going to make sure that I'm okay financially through that, but I trust.
Yes.
So I don't work out of that lower elevation anymore. And so when we find ourselves, we can grow and grow into a better place.
Absolutely.
And forgive ourselves. I don't care what people think about me.
I
don't care.
That's right.
Because
You're not
God has
supposed to.
forgiven me.
Yes, yes. And he knows the plans and purpose he has for your life.
He does.
Regardless to what anybody else has to say. God has a plan and purpose. He gave me my 4 P's while I was in prison. Preservation, he preserved me while I was out here in the
Look
world.
at you.
Preparation, he's preparing me while he has allowed me to be still for his plan and purpose. And so I get it and I understand so in depth of your feelings. I too have 4 kids. I too 6.5 years in prison. A lot of people are like, you don't look like you've been in prison. I said, I don't look like what I went through because God brought me through. You know, had it been of myself, I probably would have been back. You understand? So I get everything. I feel every emotion. I feel everything that you've gone through because I had to go through the same thing. I had to, find forgiveness, give forgiveness, and also ask for forgiveness. I had a hard time when I got home with my kids. Like struggle, like combative type situations with my kids, because I had to identify with their hurt. I had to identify with their pain. I had to understand what they went through while I was gone, while I was absent from their lives, and it is not easy, for us as a mother, because we thinking everything we did was for them because we were mom and dad, and
I used to say that, what you just said, we did it for them. But when I ended up in prison, I did that for me.
That was the mentality, but that was the trick of the enemy. He had us thinking.
Oh, you're doing this to save your family. You have food on the table.
Yeah.
You have this.
Your kids ain't got to go through the same thing you went through.
Right.
So on and so forth.
But they went through worse.
Yes, and because they had to be without us. And my son said something so profound. Shout out to my son, Keith Wright.
My son's name is Keith, too.
Look at God. He said something so profound to me. He said, Ma, when you get out your own way, you have to move out of your own way. And still to this day, my son and I, we work through things daily with each other.
Yes.
And I love my kids with everything in me.
Yes.
And they still school me, and my kids are the same age as
Yes.
my youngest is 25, so they still like, all right, ma, let's talk.
Right.
Can you talk? And I had to learn how to get out of my own way and stop being defensive, on my end, trying to defend the stupidity that I did, in order for them to be able to break through. Right. You understand? And learn how to forgive me. So I'm so grateful to this day that, it's still going to be an uphill battle. I don't think, it will be. It will be. It might be something that triggered them sometimes, because it did when I was growing up with my mom and my dad. But at the end of the day, as long as you and God have that relationship and you ask for forgiveness, He's going to bring them full circle,
right.
Into, where things are supposed to be. So I really would like to take this time as well to, shout out my mom. I used my mom as a crutch a lot because I thought she was supposed to be a different type of mother. And I didn't understand that my mom didn't know how to be that type of mother because she had us young. She had me when she was 15. Mm-hmm. So she didn't understand. And God showed me that it was a generational curse on my mom to where she didn't understand how to be that mom. But, shout out to my mom, Linda Cooper, Copley, all the names, for just being you, for taking in, your grandkids, my two youngest, my sister Brandy. Thank you. I don't think I've ever just said thank you for just being that parent for my kids, during my absence. And so thank you. Just thank you. I'm sorry, wasn't expecting that.
Me, I know.
It's a little overwhelming, and I still like my mom now, but thank you, because had it not been for what you could do for them, they probably wouldn't be here. So thank you. Mm-hmm. So, Officer Dumas, retired Officer Dexter Dumas.
Yes.
How long were you an officer?
I was in law enforcement for a total of 34 years, 30 or 40 years active.
Okay.
And the emotions that I'm seeing right here, that's something that I've seen a lot of. I've had to be the brother, the father, the husband to strangers, the big brother, the little brother, whoever needed it because of these emotions. Things happen and people look for answers. They don't know where to look for answers. And sometimes you represent a possible if you know how to relate. Now, I grew up an only child. My mother raised me. There was a male in my life from, I say 7, 8, maybe even 9 on, my stepfather, but I remember and I refer to myself as growing up an only child. So those things that you all were speaking of, your kids being left because of where you had to be. I was left, a latchkey kid, that kind of thing, having to fend for myself. If I went out and had to do something, it was me to do it. I didn't have a big brother or big sister. Mom was, taking care of her business. So it was on me. So you learn to cover yourself, to handle yourself, to be assertive with yourself very fast. Yes. And that can go either way. It depends on your influence. Well, I had a strong family influence. She wasn't playing that, you know. So my straight and narrow was set, and I was fortunate enough to attend private school, elementary school, one of the few black private schools in the Atlanta area. And that helped me a lot because there were strong female figures in that school that kept you on the straight and narrow. And it helped me a lot. But I wanted to go back to what I witnessed here with you, the two of you, the emotions. That's something that even men have to come to terms with a lot of times. Right now, you know, I'm a father. I have a 35-year-old daughter, and my son just turned 18 this summer. There's some things that came about. I've been in his life, you know, through marriage, for 18 years. But at 18, something came to me that I never thought would have come to me. And he came up against me. And to the point of wanted to go physical, fisticuffs. And I had to reflect back to my experience in law enforcement. That's not what you want. And he doesn't know what he wants. So let me back off. Allow him to find himself and let the Lord work with him, because he's confused right now. He's confused with bad information. He's confused with girlfriend. He's confused with wanting something and wanting it now. This generation, they want what they want.
Instant.
And they want it now. They don't realize that you got to put the work in.
Right.
You know, and it's not going to be as easy. And if you don't prepare, then you're going to have to prepare at some point in time. And if you don't want to do that, there are some that slip through the cracks and they make it big or they succeed at what they're doing, but not everybody's going to do that.
Right.
You're going to have to put in the work. You know, everybody, you know, you got a lot of kids, especially us, our black kids, want to be an entertainer.
Let me kind of jump. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be, rude or disrespectful, but you saying that, and you been in law enforcement for all those years,
Yeah.
have you had to encounter kids that have had to go through what we went through, or what we put them through? Like, juveniles that, like you saying your son, and the generation now,
Right.
and how they had to, how your son had misinformation, do what they want to do, the right now situation, all that stuff. But you find a lot of those, it might not be in your son's case,
Right.
but we find a lot of these kids that have that mindset is because parents are in prison or parents have left them or on drugs and things of that nature. And so have you ever encountered a spectrum of kids like that?
I can give you the scenario of this one young lady. As a law enforcement, little side job, I worked as a resource officer in the city of Atlanta.
In the schools, yeah.
In the schools. And there was this young lady whose mother had gone to prison.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a middle school, and she was 8th grade, excuse me. And she actually was taken in by her mother's sister. And she was staying with her. Well, the mother was getting out, and she wanted to get her kids back together. And there was a custody situation going on. And because I worked at this middle school, I also happened to, when I left the resource officer job, I was a detective in that particular area. Mm-hmm. So when the report came to me, I'm like, wait a minute, I know this name, because I had to deal with them at school. Mm-hmm. The sister, the custodial custodian coming to the school in reference to this
Right.
young lady, and the mother coming to the school, and they're at odds. So we had to deal with that at school. Now I got to deal with it away from school.
Right.
To the point that I couldn't understand why this young lady didn't want to go with her mother. But especially when I had to go to, the mother was staying with her mother, with the kids, down in Fairburn in a beautiful home, but she didn't want to stay there. And it's because of what you all mentioned. She felt like her mother left her.
Right.
Yeah. So the
And
anger.
wasn't there, the anger.
Yeah.
And she more or less had gotten accustomed to being cared for and thought about by
The sister.
the sister,
Right.
and didn't want to let that go. The sister was not a bad custodian. She wasn't. But
It was now time for the mother to take over the motherly role.
right and the
the
proper,
child didn't want the
because
transition.
the proper paperwork wasn't done.
Right.
And in that case, as far as the proper paperwork, I get that the kids are they've gotten accustomed to someone being there and being
Right.
that person for them. But in my case, and I think in Stoney's case, is we were those mothers, and everything was about our children, or so we thought at that time. And so with the mother being absent from the children, I think that's where that custodial parent has to keep that connection
Right.
with the children. I didn't see my oldest son the whole time I was in prison.
Right.
He's angry. I seen my oldest daughter once, and I seen my two youngest twice.
And that's the same here. No one would ever bring the children to see me. So my daughter, when she got her license when she was 18, her friend rented her car, and they came to Florida. I got to see my mom, see her, and then it was 2 more years before I would see them again. And she would come on the release date to pick me up that day.
Yeah.
And I would worry her. Are you coming to get me? Are you coming to get me? Did you send my clothes?
Yeah, that's how it was.
If you call me one more time.
That's how it was when I went to the halfway house, and I was just
Right.
like, oh man. And then my oldest son, that's when I was able to see him and connect
Right.
with him, and him and his girlfriend would take me and pick me up, and I was like,
And
yeah.
my mother was that person
Yeah.
for me, God rest her soul. And she waited for me to come home.
Oh wow.
And I remember my sentence, and I was looking at 30 years. And she told the judge, she says, I don't have 30 years. So he says, I'll give her 78 months. And when I came home, I told my daughter, I was like, try as fast as you can. I'm supposed to be at the halfway house at so-and-so time. I've got to see my mother.
Right.
I hadn't seen her in 2 years, so she had took that drive all the way to Florida, and I was so happy.
Yeah.
And when I walked in the house, I says, Mom, and she was sitting in her chair, and she was like, the cataract had been bothering her eyes, and she says, "Is that my baby?" And I had lost 200 pounds.
And she
So
didn't
she
know.
didn't know.
She like a whole transformation.
Can somebody give me my glasses?
Right. And it's so profound when, when you finally do connect back
Yes.
with, your family and your loved ones. But I really, want to be able to say, retired Officer Dumas, how do we better help those kids that are experiencing what, we had to put them through, incarcerated parents had to put them through, what we put them through. How do we help from a law enforcement side? Because I work with a lot of law enforcement in reference to kids. I do. And these people are great, been working with them since I hit ground. And, with the Youth Against Violence and Chief and, Tony Carter, Deputy Carter, to mention a few. But I tell you what, when I say that we need so many more of them, instead of locking these kids up because we don't know what they had to endure.
Right.
I do a class called The Root. I said, these kids are not coming out the womb acting crazy. I can identify with them because my kids didn't act crazy before I got locked up.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So now they have to deal with this deep-seated thing that they have in them now because they're angry. So once we identify that, and we can dig that thing up and empower them, impart different things in them, empower them with, encourage them with, knowing their self-worth and knowing who they are, and, that we ain't going to leave them no more. My kids just now saying, I see you, Ma. It's been 10 years. They saying now, they saying, I'm seeing you, Ma, because I ain't been back.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
And a lot of people expect for you to fail when you come out. They're expecting for you to do the same things that you've done before.
But it has to be a different mindset.
Right.
Well, it does.
has to be
And also, you all spoke on what it's going to take.
I need to know from you, from the law enforcement side.
That's what I'm going to give you.
Okay.
What it's going to take is that connection. Some things cannot be avoided, going to prison, jail, or whatever. But there's got to be that continued connection.
Okay, so
they
we
got
on
to be
this.
brought to.
Yes.
To see the father or the mother that's incarcerated.
Yeah.
To keep that connection, to keep that line of communication there, because once that's severed, then they are more than likely to fall or follow whatever is put before them.
But it's hard.
It is, and as far as law enforcement,
That's what
they
I wanna
got
know.
to be approached. You got to make yourself approachable. Now, when I was in the schools, we dealt with, it was one of the most violent schools in Atlanta, but those kids knew that I wasn't there to hurt them. I was there to help them.
That's what
now,
I
if you
That's what I
needed to be
needed to
dealt
hear.
with, I dealt with you, but then I talked to you at the same time. It was me and another
Yes.
officer. There was this particular principal didn't want no one else working that school but me and 3 other officers. Because we had a relationship with not only the administration, but a relationship with the kids.
That's
and see,
what
the other thing,
I needed to
when I
hear.
dealt with them at school, and then I came to their apartment or in their neighborhood later on that evening, Officer Dumas.
What you
I
doing
know
over
you-
here?
Exactly. They felt, so then they knew
Who's
that.
going to get them?
No, they
Not
just
in that way, but in a loving way.
They know I was going to follow up with
Right.
them.
Exactly.
And then if they was acting a fool, I see them tomorrow. at school.
Yeah,
You know, and then I said, come here. Come here. Let me tell you something.
Right.
If I catch you doing so and so, your mama told me what. I catch you doing something. You're going to deal with me.
Exactly.
And even to this day. I mean, I got artists, Young Thug, and the guys that would run up with him. He knows me well. Well, he knew me well. He probably, but when
knows.
when I was sitting in my office, and he happened to have to visit my office one day, Officer Dumas, I said,
Here we
what
go.
are you doing here? And I had to sit down and talk with him about,
Right.
look, what you're doing is going to jeopardize what you're after. You need to cut some ties. You need to change some things. And some of the guys that knew him, I told them the same thing. I said, look, y'all need to tell him, you need to stop, some of the things he can't keep doing.
Right.
But as far as when I was in the middle school, there was one thing that happened. Me and this officer, we were standing out during dismissal, and this young man come walking up. And he come walking up and said, hey, guy, you're not supposed to come back on campus. He said, well, I just wanted to show y'all this. And it was an acceptance letter to Fisk University.
Look
He said,
at God.
I want you to know that the things y'all said to us or to me didn't go by the wayside.
That's
and
what's up.
we was like, whoa.
See, that's what I'm getting to
Yeah.
when I said what I said from your side of the
Right.
spectrum, because we don't know. I hear everybody saying, oh, these kids so bad and disrespectful. Why is what you need to be asking. Why are they being disrespectful? Why are they bad, so-called bad or whatever? And see, we got to stop doing that too. We got to stop speaking those things over these kids' lives. We have to start speaking positive, give them affirmations, telling them their worth, letting them know that they're loved, letting them know that they can win on purpose and with a purpose. We have to stop labeling our kids because we don't know their story. We don't know what they've been through. To look at my kids, you would never think they had to be without their mom for that amount of time. So stop labeling these kids and find out their heart. Learn their hearts. Know where they're coming from. Know where they've been and where they're trying to get to. So we as adults, it still takes a village. What are we going to do?
Exactly.
What are we going to do? Because I can say for myself, my kids had to go through because of me. Not because they're bad, not because they're disrespectful, not because they are any of those things. They went through because of me. And once I identified with that and knowing the reasoning why they are where they're at or where they were or how they felt, then we can start getting to the good part of their lives and their hearts. Stop labeling these kids. Be a village. Start taking up some time with a child. Speak to a child. See one of these kids in the store and see what they were going on. Speak to them. Don't always think that they're out for. Let's start being that for these kids, y'all. I'm sorry.
It takes a village.
I'm passionate.
It's just like you said, but as far as from the law enforcement standpoint, I remember, I know working there was PAL, and there's a lot of other entities like in Douglas County, the movement that Sheriff has got going on that's reaching out. But is that in all many departments? I don't know. I may be wrong. There are a lot of police departments around this country that need to have
type of
something that reaches out to the youth.
These kids.
And
on that note, I'm sorry, Officer Dumas, we're going to have to take a short break and we will be right back. Remember, people, it takes a village. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Chief Gary Sparks with the Douglasville Police Department. Today we want to give you some safety tips concerning traffic stops. Take a look.
So you look in your rearview mirror and see flashing blue lights. What do? Remain calm. Yield to the right and pull your vehicle over into an off-road area that is safe for both you and the officer. Put your car in park. Remove your foot from the brake and turn the radio off. Remain in your vehicle. Have your driver's license readily available for the officer. Keep your hands on the steering wheel, visible for the officer at all times. If you need to retrieve any items from the interior, explain what you're reaching for to the officer and avoid any sudden movements. Rolling the window down completely establishes a level of trust with the officer and allows for ease of interaction during the routine traffic stop. Be courteous and polite. Be cooperative and willing to follow the officer's instructions. During a routine traffic stop, the officer will return to his vehicle to run the tag and driver's license verification and complete a citation if one is necessary. Once the officer returns and approaches your vehicle, whether or not a citation or warning is issued, please remain calm, courteous, and cooperative. Sign the citation acknowledging you agree to appear in court, and do not dispute the citation with the officer. The officer will give you a court date to explain or defend your infraction.
Okay, ma'am. Like I told you, I did clock you at 51 in a 35 mile per hour speed zone. I did issue a citation, okay? This here is going to be your court date. I just need a signature from you stating that you received a copy of this citation, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Here's your driver license.
Thank you.
Along with a copy of the citation, okay? Do you have any questions or concerns for me?
No, sir.
Okay, well, you have a nice day, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Following these few simple steps will help ensure a safe interaction for both you and the officer.
I hope these few tips help you as it relates to dealing with law enforcement and traffic stops. Not only in traffic stops, but in all encounters with law enforcement, we hope that all our encounters are safe for the citizens as well as for our officers. Again, we want you to be safe, and if you have any problems with the Douglasville Police Department, don't hesitate to give us a call and make your concerns known. I would add that Georgia is a right to carry state, and we hope that if you are carrying, that on these traffic stops and all encounters, please let the officer know that you are carrying. This will ensure your safety and our officers' safety. Thank you, may God bless you, and may God keep our community safe. We are one.
There you go.
Hi, welcome back to the After. Thank you. I would like to hey, this is a serious conversation. We have a lot more we have to talk about. So we're going to do a part 2 to this thing. I said that last week. But this thing is so deep because it is important. It's imperative that we understand our youth. It's imperative that we understand the situation that people go through, incarcerated people that's trying to re-enter society goes through. It's imperative that we learn and acknowledge and understand more in depth what's taking place. So, any last? Well,
I just want to say thank you so much for having me on the show. And as I was saying, that prison is now one of the most one of the most marketing and marketable things, billion-dollar companies. Yeah. They're owned by private people, and so they're doing everything they can to keep us incarcerated. Yeah. They're doing everything to keep us in. This is a new slavery. So, and then they're doing everything to destroy the black family, even though by our choices. So some of us don't have the willpower to say, I'm gonna just stick it out and go this way and do with the best I have, mm-hmm. and be spiritually grounded. So they get stuck and they go back and they keep trying to beat the system, but the system keep beating them. So that's basically what I had to say about that. But if you believe in the higher power, you can make it through anything.
All things are possible.
Yes.
All things. I used to run from them people. Now I shake hands with them. So
exactly.
I know all things are possible.
Yes.
And you, Mr. Dumas.
Yes. I also appreciate you having me on this particular forum. There is a lot more to be talked about, to be worked out, and not just my view, but other people of law enforcement, various levels, their view.
Absolutely.
The youth, of course.
Absolutely.
We've got to reach out to them. We've got to reach them in a way that they know that's not a threat.
Right.
It's not a threat, and the way you approach things won't make it a threat.
Absolutely.
You got to know how to approach that person just like you approach any adult.
Yes.
That's working. How to even go on job interviews, things like that.
Yeah.
So there is a second part 2 coming.
It's coming.
I hope to be a part of it.
And so on and so forth. But you all, thank you so much for tuning in to the After. We have a donate button. We want to keep our program going. And if you would like to donate just anything just to keep our program up and running, we would gladly appreciate that. We will see you next week, this time, same time, Saturday at 3 o'clock. And we look forward to hearing from you. And if you would, like and share, our videos. And if you have any comments or questions, please contact us. We love you. See you on the next time on the After.
Take care.
So many Black lives incarcerated. So many Black lives silenced. When will we stop the madness?
Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Elmer Horn with Douglas County Sheriff's Office, and we're here at one of our communities, and Sheriff Pounds is here with us. And Sheriff Pounds is very involved in his communities, and he come out. We brought out our grill and our smoker so we can come out and help cook for this community. And Sheriff Pounds himself has come out and helped cook with us, and he's here to cook and help these folks today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the programs that I call Taking My Community Back. If you don't get out there and get involved in your community, you ain't gonna be able to get it back. And the sad part about it, we losing our young men at such a pace that it's unreal. We got to come up with something that will help us with these children. Got to. So this is what I'm doing. I love it. I'm out here in the sun. It's hot, but like I said earlier, we're gonna do these until we get that gap between law enforcement and the community bridge. We're gonna bridge that gap because we're gonna get out of here, we're gonna shake hands, we're gonna find out if they got any kind of problem we can assist them with, and invite them to the sheriff's office and come to the roll call. Just come see what's going on at the office. Thank y'all so much for being here.
Thank you, Sheriff Pounds. And like I said, this is just one of many events that we bring this grill out to help with our communities and get involved.
Across the world and beyond.